Phil Labonte is the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains, an anti-communist and counter-revolutionary. For you Timcast fans out there, he just dove headfirst into the mosh pit of the RNC Day One's diversity disaster. He's not pulling any punches as usual. Phil's ready to wake people up to the threat of communism. The Republican National Committee's Day One, right after the scary incident in Pennsylvania with Donald Trump, was a spectacle of diversity just for diversity's sake. Amber Rose running her mouth and a Sikh woman offering what was clearly a blasphemous prayer. I'm all for diversity. This ain't it, though. It's the kind of corporate Democrat and Republican DEI nonsense that's been force-fed to us for years. Let's break down what Phil Labonte said. Quote, I don't care about the Sikh prayer. I don't care that Vance's wife is Indian. I don't care that they had Amber Rose on the stage. I care about waking people up to the threat of communism. And if it takes Sikh prayers, Indian spouses, and only fools women, I'm fine with that. On the surface, it sounds like a pragmatic approach, doesn't it? You cast a wide net, you bring in diverse voices, and then you try to unite them under the banner of whatever you want. In Phil's case, he's concerned about communism, so he wants to unite this diversity, this wide net of diversity. It sounds good, but here's where it gets tricky. It's like you're trying to build a movement against communism, but you're welcoming anyone and everyone without a clear ideological litmus test. It's like trying to form a metal band where nobody agrees on what metal even is. Number one, how many people do you need in the band? Number two, they all have to have some type of agreement on what type of music they want to play. Otherwise, you might end up with a country crooner or a jazz saxophonist or a classical violinist all trying to play Master of Puppets. Sure, it's diverse, but is it effective? Phil calls himself a counter-revolutionary. This is a reference to a term that carried life or death weight in places like Mao's China. But in the context of modern American politics, what does this even mean? Phil thinks his wide net, big tent approach will bring people to his counter-revolutionary army against communism. He's potentially rallying a bunch of scatterbrains who don't know what the culture war is about. Amber Rose spoke, for example, and she didn't mention anything about being anti-communist. So, Phil, what I need from you is to tell the RNC you have to have the message of anti-communism. Then you can bring Amber Rose into it, and she has to find a way to fit into that message. Some of the people that Amber Rose and some of the diverse speakers are trying to court might even be pro-communism because it was never made clear that being anti-communist was a prerequisite to get into this building. Phil might be banking on votes, thinking Trump or whoever leads this charge will get the votes and then they'll get the power later. But votes without a mandate? That's like trying to play music without a beat, without any rhythm, without a time signature. You're bringing people into the fold who all have their own agendas. Some people can't be in 6-8 and then others in 3-4. Do you think the people that Amber Rose is trying to court are more pro-reparations or anti-reparations? It's a recipe for chaos, not revolution. This really isn't about Phil. I'm a fan of Phil. There's no beef. It's not even about Amber Rose or any of the other speakers, Harmeet Dillon or anything like that. It's a symptom of a larger problem in American politics. We've got three main players: corporate Democrats, corporate Republicans, and MAGA. The corporate factions on both sides push for a type of diversity that's based in courting different groups rather than the merit of their message. Why is MAGA dipping into those waters? It's hilarious to see MAGA has been very vocal against DEI, and now they're just adopting their own version of DEI. I think things got heated because of what happened this last weekend with the grazing on Trump's ear. People are scared. I don't blame you. So they just want to win. They don't care about ideology or anything. They don't care who they're bringing into the fold. So MAGA's struggling with this balance now as well. So MAGA's doing a back end, figuring out why Democrats like DEI. It's because you can recruit the lowest common denominator. Many people who don't have the brain capacity to understand these conversations will say that I am, or anybody with my beliefs is trying to say that diversity is bad. I never said that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm a child of immigrants. I value the melting pot that is America. But diversity for diversity's sake, that's just noise. A political movement can only be as broad, this big tent philosophy. The tent can only be as big as its ability to assimilate people into the ideological framework. There's always going to be room for debate. There has to be, but you can't extend the tent, the little things you hammer into the ground, you can't extend them beyond your core ideology without losing your purpose. That's the fundamental flaw we see in both corporate Democrats and Republicans. Their pursuit of broad appeal leaves them without any coherent ideology. Now they're beholden to the money bags behind the movement. Effective political mobilization requires consistency. Without it, we're left with a discordant assembly of voices, unified only by their shared platform. Phil's main concern is to combat communism. That strategy is ill-equipped to combat communism or advance any, doesn't matter what it is, coherent political agenda. You can't build a movement on votes alone. I'm not even sold it's going to get all these votes that people think it might, but let's say it does. You still can't build a movement based on votes alone. You need a mandate. You need people who understand and believe in your core message. Phil's heart is definitely in the right place, but his strategy needs a remix. You can't fight communism with a mismatch of conflicting ideas. You need a clear message and a base that understands what they're fighting for. Politics isn't a mosh pit where anything goes. It's more like a complex symphony. Sure, you can have different instruments, but they all need to be playing the same piece. Otherwise, you're not making music, you're just making noise.
Middle MAGA.